I'm just overwhelmed at all of us, and for those of you who are physically present, there's so many people joining us on Facebook. People I've never recognized their names before. So welcome to all of you new viewers. This is really awesome. And we've been in an experience with the world, the human race consciousness, the past few months, and yet the Center for Spiritual Living Princeton has been thriving. And you heard one of the fruits of our work being shared by John and Damaris, that our students, our advanced students who have been going through the practitioner training program, a few weeks ago they passed all their written exams, and on Thursday they went before a panel of esteemed ministers and practitioners, and you know who you are, and some of them are watching right now. And so they all approved all four of our interns, our advanced students, into getting their licenses as a practitioner. And so in the next couple of months, our organization that we're affiliated with, Centers for Spiritual Living, will be voting on it along with all of the other students in our teaching who are ready for their practitioner license. But we're calling them practitioners now because they are. That's it. Case closed. We're done. They're done. They got it. It's paperwork. No delay. And our topic today is the danger of delay. And there's two things that we need to think about with delay, because in one instance it's a good thing, and at a certain point it no longer serves us. So if you're new in this teaching, if you're new in your spiritual path, if you're new in awakening to an awareness of your spiritual self, and especially if you're new to realizing that your emotions are not divine guidance, if you're new to this, then pressing a pause button before you act on your impulses is a good idea, right? As we go along our human journey, as we're raised, we're used to having an emotion and acting on it. And if you are like me, and I think that's most people, it usually does not work out well. So when we first start waking up to who we are, that we are more than just an emotional, physical reaction to life, we realize that we have choices. And so we need to first, on that journey, we first need to exercise that choice to not act on our emotional impulses, and to await and listen to what we call that still small voice within, that, call it intuition, call it divine guidance, call it your heart. Listen to that more real you, that part of you that isn't affected by emotional reactions. Like we have that outer self of ours that, experiences what the world goes through, and it experiences our lives, and it experiences emotions, and it's very intense. And when we identify ourselves with that earthly experience, we are not identifying ourselves with something greater. And so when we first get into our spiritual journey, we need to realize that I am not my emotions. I am not my earthly body. I am not Karen. I'm more than that. I'm something infinite. I'm something eternal. And what does that self have to say about everything? And so that self is always ready to guide us. It's always ready to give us its opinion. It's always ready to say, act. And so when we are connected to that divine self, that inner self, that calm self, that part of us that is always calm, that's a clue. That still small voice is still. It's not, it's still. So if you're not hearing that, if you're hearing, you're not hearing the still small voice. So, but when we do hear it, it will always guide us. And when it starts, well, let me put it this way, when we start hearing its guidance, it behooves us to act on it immediately. Because this is the thing. Now is the time in that omnipresence of life, the cause, the creator of everything, it makes time. It makes the past, the present, and the future. And when we are connected to that higher self in us, we are connected to that infinite, eternal now, which gives us what we need to know at the instant we need to take action in the world. In other words, we're not here to be all the time. We're here to be acting into the world, to be connecting to the divine, and we were created to be humanity. We were created to express the divine as human beings. And so we get thoughts given to us from that higher self of what that higher divine presence wants humanity to experience using us. And it is our purpose to act on it. Years ago, I came up with this new word, thaction. Thought, action. That when we are connected to the divine, there doesn't need to be a thought, and let me think about it some more, and I'm not sure, is that really a good thought? I don't know, and wait a minute, now my emotions are affected, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I don't know, it won't work out, they won't like me, maybe I'll be doing the wrong thing, oh my gosh, and I could just imagine so-and-so, and I know that so-and-so is watching on Facebook right now, I know who you are, is having an opinion of me. I know these things. And then maybe not, I'll take action. So when we get that divine inspiration, that little bit in the middle is not supposed to be there. Thought, action, thought, action. The divine says, I am that I am. Whatever the divine knows, instantaneously is created. Right now, the divine is saying, I am that I am, and this universe is created. Right now, it is being created. Now, by the thoughts of the divine right now. And we are made in that image and likeness. In other words, that's how the thinking works in us. And so we want to get comfortable with responding to that inner guidance instantaneously. And I'm sure all of you have had experiences where you've had an intuitive sense. Maybe it didn't even come in the form of a thought, but you had that intuitive sense and you acted on it, and a whole lot of trouble was saved. Years and years ago, back in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, I was working for the Ohio legislature, and I was an atheist. And yet that still small voice was operating in me, but it knew better than to talk. And one day at lunchtime, I was walking down the street to go to my usual luncheon place, and that inner guidance stopped my movement. With no thinking on my part, I just stopped. I was, stop. And a part of me was like, huh? And a sign overhead crashed down in front of me. Thank you, God. So I am grateful that even when I didn't believe in God, that divine presence stopped me. It worked in my favor. And so I'm sure every one of you have had experiences like that. And so what we want to do is realize now that we are on a journey, and we know the difference between impulsively reacting to our emotions and what's going on and who said what, as that physical, emotional self is that we show, that persona to the world, our human personality maybe. When we know the difference between that and that self that is connected and that knows it is love and it is wisdom, when we have that straight, we want to absolutely, whenever we receive a divine impulse, we want to act on it immediately. Now, we have two examples of that in this world today. First of all, here we are. This was divine guidance that we are meeting here physically today. We met here until the divine creation through the law of the world told us, no, you cannot meet. And we accepted it as support, as guidance. It's somehow working for our greater good. And so we accepted it and we worked with it, and look at our results. We have practitioners and we have all these wonderful people who are now joining us on Facebook, which never would have happened if this didn't happen. Why? Because I would have delayed it forever. I'm preaching to myself, and it's too hard, and I love technology and technology loves me. I only said that because I had to, trapped in my house, in my kitchen, and the thing wouldn't work. And so I had to learn, but that guidance to be on Facebook Live had been given to me for years. I don't know how. It's too hard. But blah, 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 we've got too much else to do. And plus that, who are all these people out there in the world watching? They may not like me, right? So all those human, stupid reasons that I had caused delay. And there is a danger to delay. I'm sure all of you have had the experience, like me, that sometimes we delay and we do miss an opportunity. I mean, how many of you have been advised on the inside to invest in a particular stock before it takes off? I heard about them all. I invested in none. So to take advantage of your consciousness, of the universality of this loving presence, and to use it to support you into your greater good is what we are about in living the science of mind and living a spiritually aware life. And so as a community, we can't meet in person. Fine, but we shall meet, right? And so we met online. We kept going. We are not a community that just needs to be together looking at each other face to face, although we really need that too. But no, we are love, pure love, which is omnipresent. And that is present whether we're physically together or not. And now we're talking to people around the world. Hi, Craig. In Thailand, I love that he's there. So, and now the law expressing through the earthly people said, you can meet in person now. And so we asked our community, and some people were ready and some people weren't, and we want everybody to listen to their own inner guidance, because what does anybody else know about it, what's best for anyone else? But that divine presence said it's open, and we accepted it. And here we are, and we're learning an awful lot by this joint virtual and physical experience, so that we can reach more and more people, so that we can be together with each other even when we are physically apart, so that all of us have more choices in moving forward. The danger of delaying is we don't get to discover what's available to us. What more good is there? I also find it interesting. The topic is perfect for what we celebrated in the world on Friday, June 19th. And this is a holiday that I'm reading from Seth Godin. It doesn't mark the date of Lincoln's proclamation that freed the slaves, nor does it occur on the day that the 14th Amendment was passed. Both were overdue and urgent and important steps forward. Instead, it commemorates the day that the last group of slaves outside of Galveston, Texas, heard that they had been freed months earlier. The delay was an imprisonment for months. So by delaying our action when we are divinely guided, the only one we hurt is our own selves, our own good. They have a story in one of these books, this book by George Bendel. He refers to a story that Mark Twain told of a prisoner. Let me see if I can find it. A man who spent years in prison only to walk out one morning when he discovered that the doors had never been locked. And so when we are learning about our spiritual presence, we are bit by bit discovering that we have been keeping ourselves locked up when we were always free. The technology was always here. If we listen to the millennials, they're like, what's your problem? You know, you just press a button, what's your problem? They don't understand all the problems that one can manufacture. But that missed opportunity is something that we need to realize how unnecessary it is. That we are created to enjoy our lives completely. And as we are enjoying our lives completely, we are created to move from good to greater good. So this day, as enjoyable it is, you know, might get old after a couple of months. Oh, do we have to meet in the sun again? We're done with that already. Because everybody is so, by the way, those of you on Facebook, the people who are here are as far away from me as they possibly can get. I feel like I'm in my kitchen still. Like there's nobody there. Because they're in the shade. And the shade keeps receding on them. They keep inching back further and further. So the good that we have right now, we want to realize it's good and luscious as it is right now, but it won't be as good as the good that we can experience next Sunday, and after that, and after that. That life is for expressing more and more of its goodness in more and more wonderful ways. And so delay just causes us to not get on the ride and enjoy it. And we're just standing around watching. But once we realize we're free to get on the ride, and maybe we get all shook up or whatever, but we're able to get on it, and that there is an enjoyment to it, then we are more likely to get on it sooner, right? So there's a book, I almost brought it, called Fear the Fear and Do It Anyway. I think Susan Jaffe, I think, is the author. Look it up, Fear the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I don't know all that she says in the book, I just like the title. That's all the wisdom I need, because I feel a lot of fear. Whenever I go outside of the good that I'm used to, whenever I'm about to take an action that I've never taken before, I feel fear. It's just something that shows up in me. And then the little voices get going, right? You're going to be stupid, you're going to fail, you're going to be dumb, they're going to look at you, whatever. I moved into a new Italian class this past week. My regular Italian class ended, and she wasn't offering one at a time that I could work with, so I went online. I just went online, Zoom Italian classes. And I found one, and I joined it. And there's 2 other students there, and a teacher, and me, all on Zoom. And they're all speaking Italian. And I'm like, what? Yeah, nothing comes to mind. I could say scusi. I got out eventually after 2 hours of the class. Oh, una domanda. I have a question. What have you been saying the whole class? So I, Karen, human personality Karen, I want to quit. Because I'm stupid. And it's hard. And this teacher expects me to study. That wasn't part of my plan. And yet, I have to, that higher self wisdom is saying, Karen, this is your thing, right? Those are your usual reactions to something new that's outside of your comfort zone. It's not divine wisdom. Shut up in your Englishness. and show up to the class and speak whatever Italian you know. You will like it, you will get better at it, and who knows where this is leading. Believe me, this is an activity I have no clue why I started it. I know why I started it, but that reason went away. Why am I continuing with it? If I were to say, what language in the entire universe would you be least interested in learning? I think it's this one. But you know, that divine guidance is guiding. So, okay, so I learned. Last week I shared with you I had that shock of looking at a video I took of myself doing ballet. And I forget what word I gave you officially was that came to mind, what negative word about my life was, because I'm not going to give you what the real word was. Privacy. But I told you my spiritual practice, that I was going to plant these plants that someone had given me, and every day I was going to water them, and I was going to know I am planting a new seed of life, and the fresh vitality of life is mine. And I did do it. I did plant those plants on Monday. I think it took me 3 hours. I could have probably sped it up if I used something larger to carry the water than my measuring cup. But I planted them. And I do notice this morning my fingernails are clean again. It took the whole week. And there they are. These 4 beautiful plants in my City Slickers gardening kit, which I found at Home Depot. And they're thriving and they're looking beautiful. And every day I go out there and I water them and I say, it's a spiritual practice, I say, the fresh vitality of life I am living. Now, the real danger of delay is the law. The law of creation must create something every minute. And if you are not giving it what to create and participating so that it needs you to create your life, to create your world. So if you're not participating, you're a drag on the law that's trying to create something new for you. So as I'm saying, I am the fresh vitality of the new living seed, open to newness and freshness and vitality. And then I go back into my home and I behave in exactly the same way that I behaved before I did that. Then the law is like, all right, we need to work on our inspiration a little bit more. But nothing happens in the outer because it needs my action. It needs me to go and buy the new light bulbs and put them in, which I did. It needs me to go into and get the special little screws to reattach this little piece of paneling that came off. And it needs me to go into the office and put all the practitioner curriculum away because I don't need it anymore, except for the new ones coming up. Yes, next year. Okay, we'll have another batch of interns. So the thing is that we have to then participate. Thought, action, faction. We want to be one with the law, doing what the law is doing for us, guiding us each and every step. And the danger if we don't is not just that we miss enjoying our lives a bit, but the law's got to create something. And if it's not using your fresh new inspiration that you are absolutely giving your 100% into co-creating, it's going to default into the human race consciousness. And how does that work for you, right? When this whole thing began, I tried one day of staying inside. And I realized I can't. I have to be out there. Because by separating myself, my experience was fear built up. and I questioned myself, and I questioned my teaching, and I began to fear other people. And I in this teaching, I don't believe in viruses and diseases and contagion and things material affecting you. I take a stand on that. But where's my stand? I realized that as I kept myself closed up, doubts crept in me. And I realized I can't go there. I have to take action. I have to be out there. I might be scared. I may be swaddled in, as many scarves and mittens. And in fact, I think I was the last one on the planet to take off gloves. I mean, I missed that memo. But, I'm wearing the gloves, I'm wearing the mask, I'm wearing everything. But I am going out there every day to do what was mine to do. I supported 3 different restaurants in my area, and I made my rounds, one of those restaurants every day, so that everybody got some business. And they're all in business after this is all over. I'm very grateful for that. And I did that to take a stand in my truth, to take action on what I want to believe, because listening to the news and staying alone was causing me to question my belief. And I didn't want to come out of this today with less faith and trust than I had before. And so we have lots of you. We did our spiritual practices together, and they continue on our Wednesday evening inspiration calls. Everybody doing their spiritual work and acting as if we believe it, not delaying. And I know that for some people, the not delaying may be, no, stay home. It's not for you to go out yet. So it's not that a particular action makes you more spiritual. It's that the particular action that is right for you is coming from spirit. And only you can know what that is. And no one else can judge you. So, the only other point that I have on my little note card here on the danger of delay is also letting go of the past. That living in the now moment with no past history in us would be an experience of being completely free to listen to that inner guidance and acting on it. But so often, the past memories that we carry around with us are the thoughts that cause us to delay. And so the more that we forgive ourselves and we drop our past, the freer we are to move forward. So we've had these 3 months of whatever, and we had centuries of whatever before that. Are we going to carry that into our future? And so what we want to do is set ourselves free from that which we do not want to be a part of our greater good, and listen to that inner guidance as it guides us into the fresh new ways that are available to us. And so we're here now. I'm not sure how to end this, but let me do a little treatment right now, and then we'll continue. So I invite you to go within and just connect to that loving presence within. And let's know this. This word is being spoken for each one, no matter when you are listening to this. There is one life, and it is being created right now. A fresh, new inspiration of God, making itself known as this world. And it is using each one as an avenue to bring forth its new good in a new way. And each one is the right person at the right time, in the right place, to take that divinely guided right action, to be an avenue and a channel of all that is this fresh new good of God's. And so anything that's been carried over from anyone in the past, any worries, any fears, any old definitions of oneself that no longer serve, as well as any human pattern or habit of procrastination or delay, is all by this word erased, evaporated, and vanished. Each one is a fresh new inspiration of the divine, connected to that loving presence that dwells right where each one is and is each one. And in this connection, each one is free to live the life that they are created to live now. A life of joy, of health, of vitality, of freedom and delight, of abundant good, and of joyous sharing and gratitude. It is a good life that God is creating now, and each one is glad and rejoices in it. I am grateful this is so I now release this word to the great creative law. It is done, and so it is. And that's the way it is.